All right, so good afternoon or good evening or good morning, wherever everyone is. My name's Ben. I am working on a paper about the connection between D&D dungeon masters and kind of their applicability to how good characteristics of teachers or how teachers can be. So today I'm going to kind of be doing a little bit more of a formal presentation on the connections between DMs and teachers. But first, a recap. Yeah. So, why are DMs like teachers? First, DMs are guides. Obviously, their main job is to guide players or whoever is playing their D&D session through a campaign, through a series of encounters, and things like that. That's what they do. They facilitate understanding. For a player to make their way through a D&D campaign, a DM has to make sure that their players understand everything about that campaign. They understand the lore, they understand the world, they understand their characters, and all that understanding, all that teaching, if you you really want to make the connection explicit, is on the shoulders of the DM. DMs also, they remix, change, and adapt to fit needs. If something's too difficult, it's up to a DM to make it easier for their players. And DMs must be mindful. They have to be mindful about their players' motivation, how they're approaching a game, how they're approaching a situation. And just to make it a little bit more, I guess, conspicuous, the connection is this quote from the Dungeon Master Guide. It says, as long as you know the rules, the players need to be concerned only with their characters and how they react to what happens to them in the game. Have players tell you what they want their characters to do and translate that into game terms for them. This kind of just hammers it in that even in Dungeon Master guides, in these books that teach people how to be good DMs, a lot of the job is based on teaching. It's based on getting someone to understand something about a certain situation or a certain fact. So yeah, DMs are very much like what makes a good DM can also in some way make a good teacher. Um, and so if we kind of connect it to what a lot of the literature has been saying about what good teachers are. I mean, TBLT, Ellis, Long, Willis, and Willis. In the world of task-based language teaching, good teachers, they facilitate understanding about a task, and then they bring students through a task. If they have to, they'll remix the task, and then they'll analyze the task, which is, if you really think about it, is exactly what a DM does. GBLT is the same way. I mean, we have two of these authors here with us today, and their frameworks, and what a lot of the literature about the GBLT has said. I mean, it falls in line with a lot of what has been said. What makes a good GM? Literally, all you have to do is just change some words from your players. You have to understand how well your players are understanding something. If you just change the word players to students, I mean, essentially, you just have the makings of a good teacher right there. And even in the world of digital storytelling, the literature about having students make their own stories, or having teachers tell stories to students through digital means, it's all the same. You can take these, you can make these connections between so many kind of lessons about what makes a good teacher into what DMs are. Let's keep going. And this should be the last slide. So one of our main goals is kind of reconceptualizing play. I mean, can a teacher be a DM? One of our things is, well, we wanted to focus on play. How can we change what GBLT has conceived play to be? And I mean, can a teacher be a facilitator and a player at the same time? Teachers often, when they get their students to play, obviously there's a big need for them to make sure that the students are playing well. But also, I mean, can the teacher join in on the game itself? Can the teacher, in a way, get on the same level as the players? In a way that the DM is always kind of has this dual role of a dungeon master, facilitator, but also at the same time, they have to play NPCs. They have to be able to talk to the students on their, or the players on their own level. Can we make game on, game, or game off, game on frames? I think I'm going a bit over time here, but can we make goal setting in a way that in the same way that DMs kind of make goals for their players? is there a way for teachers to kind of remix on demand? Kind of if a task or something is too difficult for a student, is it possible for the, if it's set up correctly, can teachers actually remix that task on demand, while they're doing the task? And just a few more things that we're looking at is like, can teachers, if they use a certain type of game or a certain type of board game or digital game, is there a way for them to change goals or change rules or change activity parameters like during gameplay? Yeah, and that's my talk. Sorry, I think I took a bit too long there. References. There you go. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of teacher as player. That's a great concept that should be explored more, for sure. Yeah.
There's something sort of unexpected too about DMing, right? Where the DM has some ideas, but they're never really sure what the players are going to do with those choices or what they're going to co-create, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's that frame that you're talking about, right? Which probably bleeds into Carol's talk as well, is like there is that frame or that space where you can't plan out everything, and honestly, if you plan out everything, you're not going to get those unexpected twists and turns, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
which is
really,
kind of
really interesting. Blows my mind.
It was just kind of why I wanted to focus on, teachers being able to adapt, their situations on the fly while they're playing games with their students. But I mean, that's all just looking into how to set up these, GBLT kind of classes.
Yeah, and adaptation is not the same thing as creation either, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, what you're aiming for? It's really great, guys.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.